Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, and today we have an update video, an update to a previous video that I had made regarding Black Ops Cold War and Treyarch's handling of Black Ops Cold War over the course of the past year. Of course, Call of Duty Vanguard is just a couple of days away, therefore Black Ops Cold War is not exactly the most relevant title right now, but it's still something that I feel so is very interesting. I think you guys are going to hear about this because obviously I made the video, and now we have news from Treyarch in regards to the video that I made. So basically the point of the video was essentially this. Treyarch doesn't play their own game. That is basically it. I claim that Treyarch and the developers at Treyarch, they simply don't play their own game, and if they did, then a lot of problems that we had throughout the course of Black Ops Cold War would not have happened because they would have seen it from a player's perspective, not just a developer's perspective, right? And it looks like Foxhound FPS, who is going to be the senior community manager over at Treyarch, has taken some offense to that. There was a couple of tweets of people asking him to nerf the marshals, for example, right? And then we get this Twitter thread right here where OG Crush says he doesn't play the game anymore, to which Foxhound responds, "That's factually wrong," and circles back to my original point that developers play their game literally in development and live environments. Developers are people too, and just like you, need time for themselves, their families, and loved ones. So of course, there's no arguing that. He then goes on to say, in-game balancing is also a tricky/touchy conversation because it's a mix of hard data, soft data, and perceptions. Subjective experiences shape opinions on quote-unquote right or quote-unquote wrong. Balancing and the royal quote-unquote we gets thrown around when sharing trends. Overall, that murkiness is solved by listening, playing, and hard data, which is players playing the game. Our team will adjust if necessary, and no, a single person's playtime is not the crux of any perceived issue. The is he playing though focus is conceptually gross, and you should stop. So I'm gonna full stop this right here. He didn't actually say anything. People have been talking about the marshals since they came out because they are ridiculously busted and ridiculously broken, just like they were going back to games like Black Ops 3. I mean, we knew as soon as the marshals came out, we're like, oh boy, are they going to be as busted as they used to be? Turns out they pretty much are, and they're a ridiculous secondary. I mean, you need only go play something like Search and Destroy, or really any game mode where your deaths actually matter, and see how many people are running around with the marshals. They are just the best secondary in the game, and that's in a game that has dual magnums, which are also ridiculously powerful. But regardless, he basically says a bunch of developer mumbo-jumbo about how it's hard to balance video games, and how there's no right or wrong, and basically it's a non-answer. And then we get a response from Crush here, who says, who's just basically just moving along with the conversation, I guess, says, where is the fix for the mastery camos that don't have proper coverage? The people who grinded those hours to obtain DM Ultra or Dark Aether should have a camo that looks as good as possible, to which the senior community manager at Treyarch responds, another tricky/touchy conversation, because again, subjective opinions on this one remain mixed. Really? It's subjective as to whether or not this is okay? Alright, let's continue. That feedback was shared with the team when it popped up, and some adjustments were made. I understand you want something different. Thanks for sharing that. Feel free to reread this. So I did reread it several times. I don't understand the point. I think the point of him wanting us to reread is it's tricky and touchy, and there are subjective opinions on the camos. How is this subjective? How is this subjective? What about this? Is it subjective that this looks good? That this is acceptable for an endgame camo in a game that made hundreds of millions of dollars? I don't think so. I really don't think so whatsoever. What about Warzone, right? I understand this is more the Raven software side of things, but if you put good attachments on the PPSH, the Cold War PPSH in Warzone, you guys know what it looks like with Dark Matter? That's what it looks like. Where is this subjectively good? My God, man, I swear, these developers, oh man, you know those kind of people that like to talk, that they have their job, right? And they think that their job is super big and super important, which I get that being a game developer cannot be an easy job. There's no way it is. It has to be a difficult job. It just has to be. But there's people out there that they'll have a very simple job doing something, whatever it is, right? These people could be driving trucks for a living, which is a hard job, but they'll make it sometimes sound like it's more difficult than it actually is by using a bunch of acronyms. And basically just, there's people that try to make their job sound way more difficult and way more grandiose than it actually is. I think game developers are the kings of that, right? They call actually playing the game a live environment. It's dude, we play in development and in live environments. It's okay, yeah, we get it, dude. You play the game in development, but here's the problem with that, right? When it comes about weapon balancing and it comes to making changes to the game, your little development circle is not representative of how the game is actually played. Live environment is the only thing that actually represents what the game is actually like. Like, you guys can play your private matches all day and night. I mean, look at esports, for example, right? I mean, look at like the CDL. They ban half the guns, they ban half the maps, they ban half the attachments, they ban half the kill streaks. In fact, they ban more than half the kill streaks. They ban most of the game. So balancing in CDL, for example, is not indicative of the overall game's balance, right? It just isn't. You have to play the full game to understand the context of the entire game, not just one small little niche thing. And all the devs at Treyarch and Phoenix and Raven and whatever playing team deathmatch against each other on Nuketown is not going to like teach them about how the game is actually balanced. So the only way to find that out is to actually play the live game with the millions of COD players out there and get a feel for the actual experience that everyone is going through, because every lobby is different, right? You're gonna have those CDL tryhards that have only been using their AK-74Us with anime skins since last November, right? Those people exist. And there's other people who are grinding dark matter, who are using super weird guns, like I'll make it up, the Type 63 with some random sight attachment trying to get long shots through the windows on Nuketown. You're going to have the other people trying to knife only. You're going to have the other people running around trying to get certain kinds of kill streaks. Like, you have to actually play the live game to get a feel for weapon balance. You can't just run around in a private match with the rest of your developers that use words like live environment to describe playing the game to get a feel for how the game actually works. That's how it goes, right? You have to actually go and play the game. You can't just put all your time into private matches with other developers and think that you know what you're talking about, because let's be honest here, most of the developers don't know what they're talking about when it comes to weapon balance, because they don't actually play the game. It seems fine in their own private matches, sure, but in their own private matches, you're also not leveling up, you're not unlocking camos, you're not getting rewarded for things, which is why somehow Foxhound over here is trying to defend this as being subjectively good. How? In what reality? Who is subjectively thinking that's good? Show me that person. I need to meet this person. Because no one thinks that is good. For an endgame camo, where you have to run around and get like 50 double kills with rocket launchers, for crying out loud. Do you guys know? I want to know how long Mr. Foxhound FPS here has sat there on Nuketown doing this, looking up in the sky with a fucking thumper, shooting it across the map, hoping that they can get a long shot. I want to know how long Foxhound has spent doing this. I want to know, because if he actually did this, if he actually went for dark matter and knew how stupid it was that we had to sit there and shoot the fucking thumper in the air on Nuketown over and over and over, he would have realized that, yeah, maybe this challenge should be reworked, or maybe going a different route here in our live environment. Maybe we could also change it so Flak Jacket doesn't completely make you immune to explosives in hardcore. Maybe they would change up that, but no. The entire year goes by, and that didn't really get fixed. I think they might have changed it a little bit towards the end of the game's life cycle. Now that I'm thinking about it, it might be slightly easier now than it was before. But yeah, this goes back to the whole idea of like their quote-unquote dev testing versus live environment, right? This would not have become a thing. Us shooting our thumpers in the air would not have been a thing if they were actually doing that, actually playing the game in their live environments and actually going for camos and actually going for progress and actually unlocking gold camo, diamond camo, dark matter, and things like that. That's just what it comes down to. And I get the idea that like when you're a community manager and you're a developer, you have opinions coming from everywhere. And that can be difficult. You have people constantly saying that your game sucks, or that your game is good, and you need to change this, and you need to change that. Some people will say, like, you know, the marshals are OP. Other people will say, the marshals suck, and they're not even good at all. Buff them up. And people are like, and the devs have to be like, well, what? That doesn't make any sense. Which one is it? But all you have to do is play the game. And then you learn that the marshals are actually OP. And the people saying that they're either balanced or that they need to be buffed, they're just factually wrong by actually playing the game. And I guess it comes down to, once again, the idea of a subjective experience, but if you play the game, you know that subjectively and realistically, the marshals need, the dual marshals anyway, single marshals fine, but dual marshals, they need to be nerfed, especially because of game modes like Team Deathmatch, Free-for-All, and Search and Destroy, where actual kills and deaths matter, as compared to game modes like Domination and Hardpoint and stuff like that. Like, when it comes to like getting a kill up close, there's like no better gun in the game, because, you know, they're just ridiculously good. But I don't know, it just kind of goes back to what I was talking about at the very start of the video here. It just, the developers almost seem like when they have this combative approach, they're almost like that they don't want to be on the same team. and we should be. The community and the developers should always be on the same team, and that same team should be working towards one collective goal, which is make the best game as humanly possible. And I think most developers will agree with that. I think most developers, even community managers, will agree the goal here is to make the best experience possible. You know, they can do their jobs, we can enjoy it, we can enjoy the game that we spent our money on, we can continue to spend our money on, stuff like that. Then yeah, that's our goal. But I don't think Treyarch met that goal this year. And I think that experiences and opinions like this are... This kind of shows why. This kind of shows why Black Ops Cold War is going to be reminded as the game that could have been. I feel like this is the game that could have been. There's so many things that they could have done, but having things like this where, oh, it's a tricky and touchy conversation. There's subjective opinions on this, for crying out loud. Like, good God. Good God. Give me a break, Fox Sound FPS. Give me a break. But ladies and gentlemen, thankfully, we don't have to deal with Treyarch anymore, because in a couple of days, Call of Duty Vanguard is going to be coming out. And Sledgehammer Games historically is very good at listening to the community and making changes based on community feedback. And I hope that they actually play their own games. I don't know. I don't think they did. Maybe not. Maybe Michael Condrey didn't way back in the day. Because remember, Sledgehammer Games was fighting with us tooth and nail about Domination 50 being good. And people like me had to make a video saying, okay, all right, you guys think Domination 50 is good in your own little dev environments here. Let me show you the reality of the situation. And it took something obscene. I'll try to find the video clip. I have it somewhere. I'll have to try and find it. But to get the ball turret gunner, like the biggest kill streak in the game, back when it was Domination 50, you had to go on like a 21 kill streak while capturing the B flag like 3 times and capturing a back flag twice or something like that to get enough score in one life to get the ball turret gunner. I'm like, that is just objectively wrong. All right, kill streaks are a non-factor in this game mode. Domination 50 does not give you enough score. Here's the data. And they're like, we're still not sure, because I think it may be like when people are proven wrong, I feel as though they like dig in their heels even more. They'd be like, nope, you're still wrong. I'm still right, and here's why. And they'll come up with some like excuse as to why they're possibly still right, as compared to just making changes that the consumer has requested and have proven to be good changes. I don't know, man. These COD developers, man, they're just... I get that they're overworked, they're overstressed and underpaid, but god damn, man, sometimes this stuff just gets ridiculous. But this rant has gone on long enough. I saw this interaction on Twitter today, and I just had to make a video on it. It's comical at this point how like almost against the community Treyarch seems to be right now. But I hope you guys all enjoyed the video. If you did, consider leaving a like. Thank you all so much for listening, and I hope you guys all have a wonderful day.